Hey, I'm Natalie Potts, and this is the Natalie Potts podcast. If you want to talk about your business, your life, your health, and more, then you are in the right place. We do it all with humour, love, and inspiration to help you create a life you love. So, let's dive in. Becca, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you on because we've only met a couple of months ago, but I love the energy and the conversation that we have when we talk, and what you're doing in your coaching business and setting up for what we'll go on to tips for 20s really appeals to me and is really interesting. So I know there'll be a bit of experience and knowledge probably coming through here, but also really finding out about how you're changing the landscape for the future as well, if within coaching and for the younger generations, which is absolutely stuff I love. So over to you. Introduce yourself and tell us all about you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So yes, I have started a new business. Tips for Your 20s is all about helping women in their 20s to navigate through the scary times that it can be throughout your 20s, coming up with new things, new ideas, your career, relationships, and just trying to be the best possible person you can be. So Tips for Your 20s is predominantly focused on holding events based around all the things that you don't necessarily learn coming out of school. But it also is the other element, which is the coaching, which I've started, which I have experience in terms of careers coaching and how you can change your career to find fulfillment, really. I was a primary school teacher for a short time. And within that time, I felt very trapped and very much in a job where I was told you work between these times, you have this holiday then. And I was unhappy, and I decided to make a change. And it's giving women the confidence to also make that change, whether that's find another job, start a new business, and really make a really good start to the beginning of their career and not waiting till they get to a point where they're really, really low or really negative about their day-to-day life.
I make some notes all the time I go through, but I love what you shared there. And there's, like I said at the start about knowledge, experience, there's so much coming through. I'm like, yep. I think I'm always sharing, and I do work in schools as well with kind of year 9s through to grads around more vision-based and learning for them to help them feel more confident and anxious. But it's definitely what I say is in those that it's the stuff I wish I would have had. And I think what you're doing and sharing here is exactly, again, me going, I wish I'd have had that, or I wish I've had that person to help me not go, I'm going to go to university because I don't know what to do, and say, actually, I'm going to university because this is what I want to do in my life. And this is what means something to me. And I don't think, well, I know I didn't have that. And in a way that I would want that now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about as well there being somebody to say to you that, yes, you might want to go to university now to become a teacher, to become a lawyer, to become a doctor, to go and do social media and marketing. But that doesn't have to be your forever route. That doesn't have to be the route that you go down for the rest of your life. You're not trapped in that one thing. If you want to go to university and try a job out for 5-10 years or even a year, that's absolutely fine. And then you go and find something else and you learn and develop new skills. It's so important that that restriction isn't there for so many young people that think that they have to stay in a career for the rest of their life, work their way up, and then that's it.
And you know what, where you shared about teaching, I did 20 years in retail, and I worked my way up from a student to being a store leader, and 19 years there. And at the end, I felt trapped. I felt exactly like you said, I've written down like not valued. I was very unhappy, but almost to a point where I'd work myself into thinking, like, pretend you're happy, like you are happy, you're lucky, be grateful for what you have. Whereas I actually don't like this anymore. I have no values that are aligned to me or that align with the business. And that's not necessarily about them. That's on me too. Absolutely. And I think a big part that I don't think I lost confidence. I've always been really confident, but I definitely lost an identity in knowing who I was. And I think that was the biggest challenge in leaving and going into my own business. And I think what we're sharing here is the awareness of what can happen when you go through any transition, whether you do your own business or whatever. And what I know is that through research, and I've read it recently a lot, that and coaching. I know coaching education, where I mentored the coaching academy, they've got a huge area in coaching education, but there are a lot of unhappy teachers and a lot of people unhappy in retail. They are they're the industries where people are leaving, like really high figures. And we can both sit here and go, I know what that feels like and why within each area. And again, it's not necessarily about, it is about the industry, but it's not necessarily about where you are per se. You've got to just say no to if it's not making it work for you.
Absolutely. And yesterday, a question was asked, what does success mean to you? And I had a really good, a deep think about it. And exactly what you said, success to me means being rounded. It means being defined as more than just your career. It means being defined as somebody who has interests outside of their work, and somebody who has conversation they can bring to the table, who wants to develop themselves. And that was really important for me, that when I was a teacher, I didn't have that. My identity was a teacher, and I would go to work every day, and that would be it. And for me, that wasn't enough. And so for some people, that absolutely is, and that's all they want from their life. And it's understanding that if you are happy, that is absolutely fine. But I wasn't, and I wanted more than just to be a teacher, and I wanted to have hobbies. I wanted to go to the gym, fitness, take up something new, and learn more about myself and develop that self-awareness, which I just never ever had before. So I think it's really important to have, for me, more than just your career as your identity. And this is where I've led into my coaching with the career side of it, because I think there's so many different routes you can go down, and it relates to different parts of your life and being able to discover yourself in different areas. But definitely then as well, in your 20s, focusing on the things that you just never get taught from school, from university, to help you just become a rounded person generally.
I guess what's, all these ideas and what we're sharing here will resonate with people listening if they're in these worlds or they're feeling these emotions and feelings. What's again comes to my mind there is that, like, it's kind of women that want more from their world as well. And that's definitely been something where I was at in retail, and I see people around me that I know that they've got to very successful positions in businesses, and again they've kind of hit that glass ceiling, or they absolutely hate it, or they're not enough in their business. And I guess it's the self-awareness. How can we help younger and you're a lot younger than me anyway, but how can we help younger generations become more self-aware and then have the confidence to say exactly like you've done? Because as much as we might sit here thinking, just do it and it's not for us, like that's not easy for people to do.
No, not at all. And I only had this conversation this morning, and I get a lot of, you're very mature for your age. When I was 24, I was doing this and that. And I think that's brilliant. I have been given opportunities in life to explore self-awareness, to develop who I am and decide what I want to do. And it's then about me helping others to have that opportunity as well, regardless of your age. And the people who are saying to me, you're very mature for your age, flipping that around and saying, yes, I'm very mature for my age. Let's see how I am and what I've developed and what skills I've learned, and how you can then help other people to have that as well, to develop those skills. And ultimately it is about having that self-awareness, isn't it? You can go throughout the whole life in one career, but unless you really dive into that feeling and dive into that understanding of what it is that's making you feel unfulfilled every single day, you're going to go nowhere. So it's having that person, and that's who I want to be for those women in the 20s, to say, I'm here for you if you want advice, if you want support, to be able to develop that self-awareness to get them to a point where they want to be, whether that is within their career, whether that's pushing them into the right direction with their relationship, or just giving the support that they need in a world where unfortunately everything is comparison based on social media, and it just gets tougher and tougher, doesn't it? I do think it's predominantly social media and what people are putting online now.
Yeah, I like what you share about opportunities. I think we can get into worlds, like you just said, where we compare ourselves all the time to others and we're not good enough. And I think it baffles sometimes my clients when I say, like, I've had that conversation with my own coach recently, like, I'm not good enough. And we are in those worlds, but the point that you share about opportunity, there are amazing opportunities out there, and you're one of them, sitting there saying, I can help you change this, create a world you like. And that we're not here sitting saying that's overnight, because often, again, patience is key, and it's a long process in knowing. I think that you've got to fail at things,
Yeah.
and they're like your success milestones, but that those opportunities can lead to so much more for you. Take them. You don't need to do them on your own either. There are people out there, and I was having this conversation with a client yesterday, how do you find these people? How do you create different networks around you when people don't even believe you, or they're kind of questioning, oh, why are you doing coaching? Like the questions I used to have, like, oh, you're going to leave your job, why are you going to coach? What, you get paid to answer questions? And it's all that stuff. You're like, oh gosh. But there are people around that are doing exactly like you want to do as well, and they'll be further ahead than us as well, and they become our inspiration. And it's us role modeling, becoming that for younger generations.
Absolutely.
In addition to opportunities and self-awareness, what else do you help Tips for 20s on, or do you find are the things that are the biggest problems for them?
Yeah, and I think it's following on from that opportunities, that actually everybody has a community. If you're online or on social media, that the people who you follow, the people who you see online are basically a community that you've created. You can pick and choose who to have in that community, who you follow, who brings you up, and who brings you down. And unfortunately, I think that can go against young people because they don't understand that as a community that they've built. And so you've got a lot of that girl, which is online, of trying to be this girl who is incredible at every day, going to the gym on time, or wakes up really early and goes for a run at 5 a.m, or it eats clean all the time. And then you don't see that real side of what is happening in their life, where, they might be absolutely hating their job, or their relationship is falling apart because everybody is so focused on becoming that girl that nobody's sharing the real side of it. And so then you built a community which is built on a lot of fake information and false information of these lives of these girls that are just sharing the good parts. And so I think it's being really mindful of the community that you're building, and ensuring that you have people within that community that are being real, or you having enough self-awareness to go, okay, I do understand that they're sharing the only good part of their day, and that they might, it's only a snippet of 2 minutes of the day, and I haven't seen the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that needs to be talked about more, really. That I definitely think there's been a big shift on the real side that people share, but not enough at all. What do you think to that? Because I know you're on social media in your community as well.
Yeah, so we're both building communities, and I think, like you shared there, you've got to be open to it might not be right for some people, and saying what it is and what it isn't, what you stand for. Being always very values-based supports what I do, whether that's personally and business-wise. And I think building that is the vulnerability that you share. And I noticed a few months ago in my own business, I got the feedback that it looks pretty and perfect, your world. And I was like, well, it isn't. But the reality was, I was probably doing that part, is that I am that person that goes to the gym each morning at 5 or 6, and I am routine and structured, and that's how I'm built, I guess. But you've got to be vulnerable. And I got to the point a few months ago, I was like, right, I heard this crap back in retail when I was leading people, that you're not a vulnerable leader. And then I'm hearing it again, but this is bigger now because it's on me to make stuff happen, and the consequences are fully on me in growing a business. So what do I really need to do? I've worked on it to a degree, but I'm not doing it enough. And I think I think everything comes back to awareness, but we'll always dip in and out of things, and we'll have to, it's our grounding of ourselves. And that's why our self-awareness is key of how we are. That I'm probably going to talk about it in 3 months' time again, of bring it down a pick or two, or get vulnerable again, because it's naturally how I can be. But when you can share things, and tell your story and share your story, that's what's inspiring, that's what's engaging to people. And finding a community, I think, to build on what we're sharing there, if you're creating one, think about those things. But if you're going to look for them as well, that you don't just naturally go and something because it seems the right thing. Just do your groundwork and your due diligence. Is this exactly what you want and need?
Yeah,
Right now,
absolutely.
what you want to achieve? Because there's so many out there and they're amazing in their different ways. And I love it sometimes when someone says this isn't the right community for me. I'm like, that's absolutely fine. Like, it doesn't have to be. It's not got to be. You've got to be a part of it. Or that's that. Or I don't want to talk to you. Like, it doesn't have to be that. We don't have to live in a world like that.
No.
So I think it's the open-mindedness. It's a self-awareness, which Stephen Bartlett talks a lot about, who I love, So it's like he talks about self-development starts with self-awareness.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a key. And I think if I could share anything with younger generations, what I've learned at 35, it would be to invest what you can in your self-development, which I always did in retail and my job. I always worked solidly on myself a lot, which got me really good opportunities like you shared in the business I was in. And I think if you can continue to do that and find people a bit where you want to be, where you are and where you were in your network, and make the right decision about who sits in your world, that can change everything.
Absolutely. It's all about those comparisons as well, and understanding that you're on your own journey and that you don't need to compare that to anyone. I think there's a lot of at the moment, get rich quick, get into business quickly.
God,
you can succeed within 30 days. That's not correct for everybody, and that's not the path that everybody is going to make. And unfortunately, I think the people who do get into these situations where they've blown up overnight and a TikTok's gone viral or something like that, they don't know how to handle that pressure and the expectation that is then put on them to perform like a sort of like performing monkey every time. Like, we want more videos, we want more pictures, and it's like, this isn't what I was anticipating on creating, because there was no plan along the way. There was no jumping onto next steps and being able to adjust to it. It's suddenly into the limelight. And then that's why we have things such as cancel culture, because people weren't prepared for the fame that they were going to have. They haven't checked that their social media is actually right, and that they haven't been hurting other people along the way. And it's just really understanding that if you want something, it's not going to come quickly, or at least if it does come quickly, it might not be quite what you anticipated and what you want. It's being able to stick and persevere at it every day, and what you see online, you're gonna have to be in it for the long run. And there's so many young people who are just seeing online, you can do this so quickly, you can do this tomorrow, and you can get famous. And it's like, is that really what you want? Do you understand what that entails? It can be quite difficult to shut off that side of social media and that side of expectations.
It's interesting because it's reminding me, so I'm doing a lot of work with clients that are going into 2023, and some of them are ridiculously successful and got ridiculous amounts of money, but they're the most unhappiest people in the world, right? Seriously unhappy. And it goes back to exactly what you shared at the start about, you've got to define, and we did this yesterday, I did it with a client, I said, you've got to share and define what success and happiness means to you. Like, you've really got to dig deep on that and almost revisit that, like, I think all, like at least every few months, but at least like definitely once a year. And I'm really pro goal setting and like looking at your vision. I know a lot of people at the moment are poo-pooing it or whatever. If you want to do that, that's fine. It works for me. It drives me. And it's that, do what works for you. And I think it's the same for the 20s, that tips 20s, that if you can really define what success and happiness means to you without comparison, without judgment or anything, just do what you really want. Like, if you were to, there's a great study out there by Bronnie Ware, who does the 5 like life regrets. So she spent time with people in palliative care, and she's an Australian nurse, and the number one regret was that people don't live a life of true meaning to themselves. And it's incredibly interesting. And and I think back that if I'd have had somebody to help me and give me the opportunity to be a part of a community, or to guide me, support me, coach me, mentor me on almost just life, like, I would snap it up right now. Because, and I always say, I wish I'd found coaching earlier, but the reality is, I think I got into coaching at 26. I wouldn't be where I am now if that hadn't been my experience to there. So I used to be at 20, I remember at 21 being really bollocked for being really bullshit at work. I was always like, I should be here, I should be there. And I was like, yeah, they said, you haven't got experience. And I was like, that's crap. I don't need the experience. And they said, no, you do. And I was like, what a load of rubbish. And then the older I get, I was like, experience is everything. Like I seek people now that have the experience. Otherwise, I'm like, I'm out. You've got to have had that. Well, you've got to walk the walk for me.
Absolutely. And experience doesn't have to take 20 years. You don't have to, you don't have to do one little thing every year. It can be, you can learn so much information from podcasts, from online, from talking to other people and connecting, that it doesn't have to take years and years and years. It doesn't have to be a slog, but you just have to have a plan in place of where you want to get to and how you're going to get there, and what information you need to learn along the way to be able to get there as well. It isn't enough to do it alone, or at least you're only going to get so far with the information that you already know. You need to be constantly developing and understanding, right, what is it that I don't know? What are my weaknesses? And how am I going to overcome that to get to where I want to be? Or who am I going to work with to get there too? Because sometimes it is, I mean, currently I'm working in my partner's business, in property business, and going from teaching to property is completely different. And I've had to learn a huge new skill set. And we're constantly saying there's always going to be things that you don't know. And there's weaknesses within the business that I know I'm not good at. So we have people that work with us in our team, which are brilliant at doing those things and are way better than I ever am. But I know that I'm also great at other sides of the business. And it's working as a community, as a group, as a team, to then come together. And it has to be the same with coaches, and it has to be the same with I know solo entrepreneurs or business owners. Working together with other people isn't a negative, and admitting their weaknesses isn't a negative. It's how you're going to then take the next step to progress within your business or your community or your venture that you're on, whether it is just finding a new job. Who are you going to team up with to help you get to that place that you want to be?
And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but if you're still sitting or you're listening to this and you're thinking, is that for me or not? Who is somebody that is your ideal client? What are their biggest pains?
An ideal client, something that I hear a lot of, is loneliness in your 20s, is that feeling of there's no one there who understands me or supports me. So I'm about building a community at the moment for these women who are feeling lonely, who are feeling like they just don't know where to go in their life. So that would be somebody who I don't necessarily want to work with them and coach them, and that might not be right for them, but just to come into a community where they feel that they can express, ask questions, get advice that they might not get anywhere else. And you know what? I actually quite enjoy the silent viewers, because I know that even if you're just reading a post that I've put about something so random as my best nutritional advice at the moment that's working for me, they might get something out of that and go, actually, I want to try that, and that might really benefit them. That sometimes that's the nice side of it, of the silent viewers. I've seen 6 people have read it. That's fine. They haven't engaged and commented, because I'd rather someone didn't comment, but it means something to them and they get something out of it, than comment for the sake of commenting.
Absolutely. I was talking to someone about that yesterday. They said, you know, what do you do when you don't get much engagement? And I was like, well, I'd rather engage and add value to 10 people that definitely want that value and do something with it, than 100,000 that I don't know and don't. Why would I want that? And I think it's quite laughable, not in a rude way, but I'm like, why would you want that in your head, to think that you want to touch the lives of people, like the starfish analogy, that you touch one person, they ripple effect to another 3, who ripple another effect to 10. I would rather know that side of things is happening than just get 1,000 likes and think, oh, they're just swiping through and actually not doing anything with that.
Absolutely. And I think when you set your mindset and you set your vision on helping people and really wanting to make a difference, that's when you'll see the effects yourself, and you'll be able to progress and know where you're going next on your journey, because it will take you somewhere. Whereas if you've set out on this mission of, I'm going to do this program, then this, then that, which I have done, and I've got a program, but it's something I'm not pushing, because I know that my community is where I need to start. I need to find out the areas that these women are struggling with, where they need advice, and then work on that. That's the next step in the journey, really.
And admitting you're lonely is a big thing. I did 18 months, and it was through COVID as well, working with Shout as a crisis volunteer, and I talked to people for a couple of hours every Sunday. And it would be they're at that point where they think of taking their life. So it's crisis. And you'd help them through that moment. And you talk about 45 minutes. And I would say like 98% were just lonely, just wanted somebody to talk to. And that's what I love about coaching, is that you create that space. You see all these people out there that do this and you get this and the features, benefits. I'm like, oh, it's boring compared to just listening to somebody, giving them the space. And we've got so much coming at us the whole time, and people don't reflect. They don't journal. They don't spend time on self-care enough. They talk about it, or they'll try it out for a little bit, but they don't stay consistent is a challenge. I think if I could share things to the young generations, it would be that my tips would be: find something you love that's happiness and success for you. Get people around you that inspire you for what you want with that, and purpose. Like if somebody said, find a life that serves, or create a life or business or career that serves others, that would have been like a light bulb moment for me. What does that mean? Because I kind of got into I got into it because of money. The money was very, very good, and I liked nice things. And now I'm very much my business. The money brings me opportunities and helps me achieve my vision with the time freedom and everything. But if I'm not doing it from adding value and being purpose driven, it means absolutely nothing to have all that money.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is really, really important. There was a time when I was at university. I'd say university was my loneliest period of time. I'd moved from Cambridge to Worcester, which is where I am now. So quite a big move, and I didn't go home very often. My family then moved to Scotland, which was great for them as well. But I had family in lots of different places, and I was sort of in the middle, and I didn't go home, and I had lots of friends that did go home. And I remember there being periods of time where I wasn't helping myself. I didn't know how to help myself from this loneliness of just sitting, not knowing what to do. And I wish I had at that point a group, a community that I could go to where that advice was given, even the smallest littlest of things. Like, I like to share like a podcast recommendation. I'm the same as you, Stephen Bartlett, love them. And I think it's those small things that can help you to make a huge difference, that are just not addressed really, and just not spoken about, or at least not in a way that people feel comfortable to listen to, or comfortable to offer advice or recommendations really.
Yeah. What would be a final piece that you'd share with people that is like something you wish you'd have been told?
Something I wish I had been told. Now, I'm only 24, so I feel like I've got a lot of learning ahead of me. It's really exciting, and really I wish I'd been told really that it isn't all one path, one journey that you're going to take, that along the way there's going to be challenges, but there's also going to be different branches coming off, taking you into different directions, and there's no shame and there's no failure in that. I had so much failure that the feeling was so overwhelming when I left teaching. I felt like I trained to be this teacher. I was so excited in that summer leading up to my first class, and it hit me when I was a teacher that actually wasn't for me. I still love working with children. I think that's amazing. But I wish I could go back and really tell myself how much it's not a failure, and where it's led me to now, and where I've been able to develop so many skills outside of my career, and how important that is too. So yeah, I really would look back and try and have a bit more focus, or advice to somebody else is to stop seeing life as one straight path that's going to lead you to wherever you think it is. It's so much more than that, and it should be more than that, and it should be the highs and the lows, and going off and trying new things, and developing new skills and interests that you want to do really.
Yeah, I love that. So I always have a question that I've had from the previous guest, and then I'll roll over your question for the next guest. So the question for yourself is, I'm building it a bit, but it was around the idea of prioritizing yourself. So when was the last time you prioritized yourself? And on reflection on that, what more could you do to prioritize you time?
Prioritizing me time. I'm pretty good in the evenings at shutting off from work and things. Pretty good. I've taken up running in the last year, which has been the most incredible, amazing thing I've ever done, and something that I'm going to continue to do for the next however many years that I can run without gaining an injury, because you know what it is when you do these sports. So I really see me time as when I'm running and being able to put my phone on to do not disturb and focus on bettering myself and seeing myself in a different light beyond my career. So I think that's, last time I ran was a couple of days ago. So I do run most days. So I do give myself that time.
Good for you. What would be your question you'd leave?
I think simply for what I do, what piece of advice would you give to 20-year-old you, really? I think 20-year-old, when you've just come out of your teens, is a really impressionable time. So what piece of advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Yeah, love that. And where can people connect with you?
Predominantly on Instagram, at Tips for Your 20s. But if anybody is listening in their 20s that wants to join the community, there's also a Facebook group that anybody is more than welcome to join.
What's the name?
At Tips for Your 20s.
Amazing. And you're also on TikTok as well?
I am. I ventured onto TikTok. Yes. I know you're on TikTok too.
I am. It's not my chosen platform. I'm terrified of it because I once spent 90 minutes on it, and my 90 minute, I was just stunned that I could spend that amount of time on a platform. That scared me. So I try and just stay away, just have my lovely VA posts once a day. But it's certainly really interesting about the potential there for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of business opportunities for anybody that wants to go on there, and it's a really nice side of my business, being able to share the real me. I do a lot of the real life of a 24-year-old. So
just don't get hooked on the likes and you're gonna go viral.
No, I don't think I really want to go viral. I don't really have time to be on TikTok for 24 hours of my day.
Bless you. Thank you so much. It's been amazing to speak with you.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you felt inspired, please make sure you share this with a friend and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. I really love hearing feedback from you. So if you have a question, topic, or want to hear from someone you love on this show, then head to my website, Natalie Potts Coaching, and let me know. Until next time, have an amazing week and know that you have value to offer this world.